My wife looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I'm pregnant by your brother. Deal with it." For a second, the air left my lungs. She stood there in the middle of our living room, arms crossed, chin tilted up like she'd just dropped the mic on me. Rochelle, 30 years old, my wife of 6 years, looked so damn smug, like she was proud of herself for destroying me. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even move. I just stared at her, trying to process what the hell I'd just heard. We'd been in a dead bedroom for months. Arguments about money every other day. Her weekends at her sister's house had started to feel less like family bonding and more like excuses to escape me. Even then, I was willing to fight for us. I'd been planning to suggest counseling, maybe a weekend retreat, something to fix the cracks before they split open completely. And now? She sat across from me instead of next to me, and the words came out like she'd been rehearsing them in front of a mirror. "I'm pregnant." My first thought was confusion. We hadn't touched each other in 3 months. Before I could even say a word, she kept going. "It's Damon's." Damon, my younger brother, 29, successful contractor, bought his first house last year. He was the best man at our wedding, the guy I'd trusted with every secret of my life. Rochelle leaned back, folding her arms tighter across her chest. "I know this is hard for you to hear, but Damon and I are in love. We have been for months. You're just going to have to deal with it." The audacity of it all nearly knocked me off my chair. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't apologizing. She was proud. I let the silence hang between us. 10 full seconds of nothing but the sound of the clock ticking on the wall. Then I said, "Congratulations." Her smug smile cracked. Her eyes flickered like she hadn't expected that. "That's it? Congratulations?" I gave a half shrug. "What else do you want me to say?" "You're having a baby, that's wonderful news." She blinked at me, confusion clouding her arrogance. "You're not angry?" "Oh, I'm something," I said, slowly. "But mostly I'm confused about the logistics." Her brows knitted. "What logistics?" I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "Well, Damon had a vasectomy 5 years ago." The color drained from her face like someone had pulled the plug on her blood supply. "What?" "No, he didn't. Yeah, he did." I kept my tone calm, almost casual. "Remember Cassandra? The woman with 3 kids who wanted more? Damon didn't. He got snipped because he never wanted children. I was the one who drove him to the appointment, picked him up afterwards, too." Rochelle shook her head violently. "You're lying." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, scrolled through old photos until I found it. Damon, sitting on my couch, bag of frozen peas pressed to his crotch, grinning at the camera and giving a thumbs up. The caption in our group chat, "Snipped, shooting blanks from now on, boys." The date stamp, May 2019. I held the screen up. He sent this to all of us. Made jokes for weeks. Her hands shook as she snatched the phone. She stared at the picture like it was written in another language. He never told me." "Probably," I said evenly, "because you never actually slept with him." That's when her whole mask slipped. Her lips trembled, her eyes darted, and for the first time that night, Rochelle didn't look smug or proud. She looked caught. The next morning, I woke up with a splitting headache. Not from alcohol, but from the weight of everything crashing down. Rochelle was humming in the kitchen, cooking breakfast like nothing had happened. The smell of pancakes and bacon should have been comforting, but all I felt was nausea. I sat at the table, and she placed a plate in front of me with her usual forced cheerfulness. "Eat up, babe." Big day ahead, I looked at her, trying to read her face. Did she feel guilt, regret, anything? But no, her smile looked almost smug. Rochelle? I said flatly, pushing the plate away. We need to talk. She tilted her head, feigning innocence. About what? I laughed bitterly. Don't do that. Don't act like you didn't drop a bomb on me last night. Her smile cracked slightly, but she quickly adjusted. Look, I told you the truth. It's better this way. Now we can deal with it. Deal with it, I snapped. You slept with my brother. You're pregnant, and you want me to just, what, smile and play happy family? She crossed her arms, her tone turning sharp. You always think in absolutes. Life is messy, Mark. Mistakes happen. But we can still work this out if you just stop. I cut her off, slamming my fist lightly on the table. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning toast. Sleeping with my brother and getting pregnant isn't a mistake. It's betrayal. For the first time, her composure cracked. She looked down at her hands, twisting her ring nervously. I could almost see the wheels turning in her head, trying to calculate her next move. Then she tried a different tactic. Tears. She sniffled, her voice breaking. Mark, I love you. I was confused. I was lonely. You were so distant. I didn't mean for this to happen. I stared at her, my chest tightening. I wanted so badly to believe her, to hold on to the woman I thought I married. But then, my mind replayed the smug way she told me last night. I'm pregnant by your brother. Deal with it. That wasn't the voice of someone who regretted her actions. That was someone cornered, trying to spin her web tighter. I leaned back, folding my arms. You know what's funny? You didn't even ask me how I felt. You didn't apologize. You just assumed I'd deal with it because you thought I'd never leave you. Her face hardened instantly, the tears drying up like they were never real. She looked at me with cold defiance. Maybe because you won't. You need me, Mark. Without me, you're nothing. Who else is going to stand by you? That hit me like a knife. For years, she'd been slowly planting that poison in my head, that I wasn't enough, that no one else would want me, that I was lucky she even chose me. I realized, in that moment, that she had been manipulating me long before this pregnancy bombshell. I stood up, pushing my chair back. You've mistaken me, Rochelle. I don't need you. Not anymore. Her eyes widened, but before she could respond, my phone buzzed on the counter. It was a message from my brother. My stomach clenched as I read it. Man, we need to talk. I swear it's not what you think. Can you meet up? The audacity. He didn't even deny it. He just wanted to talk. Rochelle saw my expression and smirked slightly. Oh, so he finally grew a backbone. Maybe now you two can sort this out like men. That smirk pushed me over the edge. I grabbed my keys, ignoring her calls behind me, and stormed out. I met my brother at a small park near his place. He looked nervous, shifting from foot to foot, his hands shoved deep in his hoodie pockets. Mark, listen, he started, but I raised a hand. Don't. Just don't. He ran a hand through his hair. It was one time. Just once. We were drunk. One time? I barked a humorless laugh. She's pregnant. That doesn't happen from just one time. He flinched, but then his expression changed to confusion. Wait, pregnant? My chest tightened. You didn't know? His face went pale. She told you it was mine? I nodded slowly. So you're saying it's not? He shook his head violently. No. I mean, we hooked up, yeah, and I regret it every damn day. But she's lying if she said it's mine. I got a vasectomy 5 years ago. Mark, I can't have kids. The ground beneath me seemed to tilt. My vision blurred as his words sank in. Vasectomy, 5 years. Couldn't have kids. Then why would she lie? My brother placed a hand on my shoulder. Mark, whoever the father is, it's not me. You need to ask her again. I pulled away. my mind spinning. Betrayal was bad enough. But now? Now this was something else. A deeper, darker secret waiting to explode. Thanksgiving arrived like a storm cloud. On the surface, the house looked warm and inviting. Pumpkins on the porch, the smell of roasted turkey drifting through the air, laughter bubbling in the kitchen. But underneath it all was a tension so sharp you could slice it with a knife. I walked in carrying a bottle of wine, rehearsing in my head how the night might go. Should I stay quiet? Should I play along? Or should I drop the truth in the middle of dinner like a grenade and watch the fallout? When I stepped into the dining room, Rochelle was already there, her hand resting protectively on her stomach like she was showing off a trophy. She gave me a quick smile, but there was no warmth in it. It was the smile of someone who thought they were still in control. My brother, meanwhile, looked like he hadn't slept in days. His wife, my sister-in-law, hovered close by, suspicious and tense. She kept throwing him sideways glances as if she already knew something wasn't right. The rest of the family, my parents, cousins, uncles, aunts, were blissfully unaware, for now. Dinner began normally. Plates passed around, small talk about work and football, kids running around in the living room. But for me, every laugh felt hollow, every clink of silverware like a countdown to detonation. Halfway through, Rochelle cleared her throat dramatically and placed her fork down. "I have an announcement," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. My stomach clenched. Here it comes. "I'm pregnant," she declared, smiling proudly at the table. "We're expecting." Gasps and cheers erupted. My mom's eyes welled with tears. My dad clapped me on the back, and cousins leaned in to congratulate us. Rochelle basked in the glow, soaking up the attention like a queen announcing her heir. But then my brother choked on his drink. His wife shot him a glare sharp enough to kill. The room fell quiet as everyone noticed. "Is something wrong?" my mom asked gently. That was it. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I raised my glass, my voice calm but firm. Yes, something is wrong. Rochelle forgot to mention one tiny detail. She told me the baby isn't mine. The entire table froze. Forks hung mid-air, eyes wide, jaws dropping. The silence was deafening. My father's face turned crimson. "What the hell are you saying, Mark?" I looked directly at Rochelle. "Go on. Tell them what you told me." Her smile faltered. "Mark, not here." "No," I cut her off. "Here. Right now. You said the baby was my brother's. Isn't that what you said?" The room exploded into whispers, gasps, and shocked stares. My brother's wife stood up so fast her chair screeched against the floor. "Excuse me!" she screamed, her voice trembling with fury. Rochelle stammered, I thought..." But before she could spin her story, my brother stood up, hands raised defensively. "It's not mine. I swear on my life I can't have kids. I had a vasectomy 5 years ago. She's lying." The room erupted into chaos. "Are you serious?" his wife shouted, tears streaming down her face. "You slept with her?" "It was a mistake," he cried, but his words only fueled the fire. My mother clutched her chest like she might faint. My father slammed his fist on the table. "How dare you bring this disgrace into my house on Thanksgiving?" Meanwhile, Rochelle sat there frozen, her face pale, her hands trembling. For once, she had no script, no manipulation ready. I leaned forward, my voice steady and cold. "So, Rochelle, if it's not mine and it's not my brother's, then whose is it?" Her lips quivered. She looked around the room, searching for an escape, but every eye was locked on her. My sister-in-law narrowed her gaze, her voice venomous. "Tell them, Rochelle." Or I will a pin could have dropped in that silence. Finally, Rochelle whispered, barely audible. It's your husband." The words sucked all the air out of the room. My sister-in-law staggered back as if she'd been punched, her face twisted with rage and heartbreak. "You slept with my husband?" Her husband, Rochelle's affair partner, was sitting at the far end of the table. He buried his face in his hands, unable to look up. That silence was confirmation enough. My sister-in-law shrieked, "You've destroyed everything!" My marriage, this family, everything. She grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. The rest of the family sat in stunned silence. My mother sobbed quietly, my father cursed under his breath, and cousins whispered frantically. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood. I looked at Rochelle, who now looked like a broken doll, mascara running down her cheeks. I pulled something from my pocket and tossed it on the table. A crisp, white business card. Everyone turned to look. "What's this?" my father asked. I smirked coldly. "That's my divorce attorney's card. Happy Thanksgiving." And with that, I walked out, leaving the chaos behind me. The Thanksgiving explosion changed everything. The very next morning I met with my lawyer. He was a calm, seasoned man with silver hair and sharp eyes, the kind of guy who'd seen every dirty trick in the book. I slid Rochelle's betrayal across the desk in pieces, her confession, my brother's vasectomy, the family implosion. He listened quietly, nodding at intervals, and then leaned forward. "Mark, I've handled dozens of messy divorces. But this?" He shook his head. "This is a train wreck waiting to happen for her. You've got leverage. Lots of it." That word, leverage, stuck with me. For so long, I had felt powerless in Rochelle's shadow, but now, with the truth in my hands, the power balance had shifted. We filed immediately. The papers were drafted, notarized, and delivered within days. Rochelle's reaction? A screaming meltdown on the front lawn for the entire neighborhood to witness. She stood there in her robe, hair wild, screaming at me through tears. "You can't do this, Mark. You can't leave me. We're supposed to be a family." I stood at the door, arms crossed, neighbors peeking through their curtains. My voice was calm, deliberate. "You destroyed this family. Not me." She hurled the papers at me, the pages scattering across the porch like confetti. For a moment, I almost pitied her. Almost. But Rochelle wasn't done. Over the next week, she tried every tactic in the book. First came the guilt trips, texts at midnight, "You promised me forever." Then the sweet nostalgia, "Remember our honeymoon? We can get back there." Then the rage, "You'll regret this. No one will ever love you like I do." Each time, I ignored her. Each time, she grew more desperate. That's when my lawyer suggested hiring a private investigator. "If she's lied this much already," he said, "I guarantee there's more under the surface." Let's dig. The PI was a no-nonsense woman in her 40s, with a camera, a notebook, and a look that told me she'd seen it all. Within days, she had dug up a trail of chaos. Bank statements showed Rochelle had been funneling money into a separate account. Photos revealed her sneaking around with not one, but two different men. One of them being my sister-in-law's husband, the other an old co-worker from her office. The kicker? She had been renting a hotel room twice a month for nearly a year. When the PI handed me the folder of evidence, my stomach twisted. Not from shock, but from validation. Every suspicion, every gut feeling I had buried, was right. Rochelle hadn't just betrayed me once, she had been living a double life for years. When we presented the evidence in mediation, Rochelle's face drained of all color. She opened her mouth to argue, but her lawyer leaned in and whispered urgently in her ear. She closed her mouth fast after that. My lawyer laid it out cold. "You cheated. You lied. You funneled money. And you broke this family in front of witnesses. Mark has every reason and every piece of proof to walk away clean. You'll get nothing more than the bare minimum the law allows." For the first time, Rochelle looked small, defeated. The same woman who once smirked at me across the breakfast table, convinced I was trapped, now stared at the floor like a child caught stealing candy. The mediator cleared her throat. "Mrs. Sanders, do you understand the terms?" Rochelle's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." Word spread fast through the family. My parents, once proud of Rochelle, cut ties completely. My brother, still reeling from the guilt of his single betrayal, moved in temporarily with our parents, while his wife filed for separation. My sister-in-law, furious and heartbroken, blocked Rochelle on everything. And me? For the first time in years, I felt free. I won't lie. It wasn't easy. Nights were long and quiet. Some mornings I still woke up expecting to hear Rochelle humming in the kitchen. But then I'd remember the smirk on her face, the venom in her words, and the shattered glass of Thanksgiving night. Each memory was a reminder. I had escaped. The last time I saw Rochelle was outside the courthouse months later. She looked tired, older, like the weight of her choices had finally caught up. She tried one last time, her voice soft. "Mark, please. We can start over." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just nothing. I shook my head slowly. "You burned it all down, Rochelle. And I'm not rebuilding with you." I turned and walked away, the courthouse doors closing behind me like the final chapter of a book I should have stopped reading long ago. Months passed. Winter melted into spring, and with each season, the weight on my chest grew lighter. At first, everything felt surreal, coming home to an empty house, cooking for one, sleeping in a cold bed. But as the days rolled by, silence became peace, not loneliness. I started fixing the little things in the house Rochelle always said I'd never get around to. I painted the guest room, replaced the squeaky hinges on the back door, and even built a fire pit in the yard. Every hammer strike, every brush of paint, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself she'd tried to take away. I threw myself into work, reconnected with old friends she had pushed me away from, and even picked up my guitar again, the one I hadn't touched since our first year of marriage because she complained it was too loud. Slowly, I started remembering who I was before Rochelle convinced me I wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Rochelle's world unraveled. Her sister cut ties completely, disgusted by the affair with her husband. That marriage collapsed in flames, leaving Rochelle's sister in therapy and custody battles. The co-worker she had been sneaking around with? He dumped her the moment my PI's photos made the rounds in divorce proceedings. He didn't want to be dragged into scandal. The money she thought she'd squirreled away? The court froze the account when my lawyer proved it was marital property she had hidden. She walked away with little more than her clothes and a bruised reputation. Last I heard, she was renting a tiny apartment across town, bouncing between dead-end jobs, and burning bridges faster than she could build them. For someone who once strutted around like she was untouchable, she had fallen hard. And me? I found freedom in the simplest of things. Sunday mornings became coffee on the porch with no arguments in the background. Nights became dinners with friends where I laughed until my stomach hurt, something I hadn't done in years. One evening, my mom sat across from me at the fire pit, sipping tea, her eyes glistening in the glow of the flames. "You look lighter," she said softly. And she was right. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying Rochelle's poison. I wasn't living under the shadow of her lies. I was just me. The ultimate poetic justice came months later when Rochelle tried reaching out again. She sent a message, a simple, "I miss us." I stared at it for a long moment. The old me, the man who once believed I couldn't live without her. Might have responded. Might have let her pull me back into the cycle of manipulation. But the man I had become. He smiled, shook his head, and deleted the message without a second thought. Because the truth was, Rochelle didn't miss us. She missed the control. She missed the power. And now that I had taken it back, she had nothing left. That was the justice she had earned. Life moves on, and so did I. But every now and then, I think back to that Thanksgiving dinner, the moment Rochelle's empire of lies crumbled in front of everyone. The sound of silence before the explosion, the look on her face when the truth hit like a hammer. That was the moment I realized something important. Sometimes, betrayal doesn't just break you, it frees you. And that's how one Thanksgiving dinner turned into the day I finally reclaimed my life. If you made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more unbelievable real-life tales, and share this video with a friend who loves a good twist. Until next time, stay strong, stay sharp, and remember, sometimes the truth sets you free in ways you never expected.